We got a moron here.
Presenting the distinguished international news commentator and foreign correspondent,
Smaulgld. This has been an extraordinary week in world affairs.
No, I told Hillary Clinton that that's Moronica.
Hello and welcome to Smaulgld's Moronica for the week ended June 9th, 2018. This week we've got double Moronica as we missed the week before, so we're doubling down on Moronica this week. This week's news, or the past 2 weeks' news, that made you scratch your head, cringe, or just say, that's moronic. This just in, well, Justin Trudeau kicks off just our Moronica again this week, and Justin Trudeau claiming that Canada will retaliate against U.S. over Trump steel tariffs, and Bloomberg notes, after more than a year of trying to make nice, Justin Trudeau finally looks fed up with Donald Trump. Uh-oh, Trump is in trouble. And Trump may impose more economic penalties against Canada as retaliation, and there is a very fed-up-looking Justin Trudeau. And here's how things are going. Let's take a listen to how fed up he is.
Pleasure it is to welcome President Trump to Charlevoix, an opportunity for us to talk about a broad range of issues. Obviously, trade has been a topic of discussion and will continue to be, but our engagement towards the world, how we're working together to create good jobs for folks on both sides of the border and around. We both got elected on a commitment to grow the middle class and help those working hard to join it, and that's exactly the kinds of things that we're going to stay focused on. And it's a pleasure to have you here, Donald.
Well, Justin, it's been really great, and I appreciate, Justin has agreed to cut all tariffs and all trade barriers between Canada and the United States. So,
and there is Justin Trudeau getting the better of Donald Trump at the start of the negotiations. Prime Minister Trudeau, according to Trump, is being so indignant, bringing up the relationship that the U.S. and Canada had over many years and all sorts of other things, but he doesn't bring up the fact that they charge us up to 300% on dairy. Moronica from Donald Trump. I think Donald Trump, and I don't think he was kidding, mentioned that the Canadians had burned down the White House in 1812. That was indeed the British, Mr. Trump. Now, more on Justin Trudeau. Well, Justin Trudeau, a reminder, was accused of groping a reporter in 2000, and he gave as an excuse for doing it. Had he known she was such a prominent reporter, he probably would have not done it. But just last year, Justin Trudeau had advised us all to raise boys as feminists to change the culture of sexism. Insider trading. Now, this is something that we're seeing, not insider trading, but this trend in the media and on Twitter and Facebook, and I guess it's just human nature. When you're against somebody, you will take any piece of information. You don't expect it out of reporters. Well, you do now, I suppose. But any piece of information, and if you can put it in its worst light by either ignoring other facts, other pieces of information, well, just get it out there and see what happens. Well, Donald Trump, prior to the jobs report, mentioned, quote, looking forward, this is on Twitter, to seeing the employment numbers at 8:30 this morning. I had seen that when it came across the wire. I didn't think anything about it. I thought, yeah, well, that's when they come out. It's a fact they come out at 8:30. And all you can do as a practical and technical matter is look forward. You can't look back. You can't look at them now. All you can do is look forward to when they come out at 8:30. Well, some in the media made a huge deal out of this, that somehow this was insider trading, or worse than insider trading. Trump is violating not just the insider trading laws, and he should be prosecuted, but that he's violating some type of sacred tradition. He did not say, looking forward to blowout numbers that I saw in advance on the job numbers come out at 8:30. He simply stated what's out there. At 8:30, they're coming out, and people who follow, they didn't even need him to say that, but to turn this into somehow being akin to insider trading is more than a bit of a stretch. It is moronic. Another one, throw Hannity in jail. Now, I had seen Hannity on, I think it was YouTube. It was something he was talking, and he said, imagine if, or I know what it was, Mueller, the special counsel Mueller had said he wanted to see collect all of the cell phones of material witnesses. And Hannity said on his program, imagine if I had advised these people to bleach bit their emails off of their phones, smash their phones with hammers, delete 30,000 of them. He said, how would that go over? He clearly wasn't advising anybody to do that. What he was saying was to do what Hillary Clinton had actually done. Well, the next day, the media and Twitter was alight with citing statutes of criminality that Hannity had broken because he had advised the witnesses to destroy all evidence. Now, these same people who were complaining that Hannity had broken the law had no trouble with the fact that he was actually referring to things that Hillary Clinton actually did with her emails and was exonerated, and they were perfectly happy and fine with that result. But here where Hannity was being sarcastic and basically saying, what if I would advise him to do what Hillary Clinton had done, they immediately had him targeted for a prison suit, jumpsuit, and that he had broken the law. Now, he didn't make... I listened to it again after I saw some of these people saying he broke the law. He said, if these people did what he suggested, how would that go over? It was clearly rhetorical, not a call to action, but I saw many people saying he's broken the law. He didn't make a recommendation. He used the word, if I recommended that, then he listed all the things that Hillary Clinton had done. He said, how do you think that would go over? It's clearly rhetorical question, not a recommendation or a call to action, and clearly no law was broken. Now, The Hill had a story saying Hannity advises witnesses Mueller probe to smash their phones. No, he didn't, and then The Hill actually corrected their story to note that Hannity was being sarcastic. Of course he was. It was obvious he was being sarcastic. Now, this is the type of, we see it on both sides, where I say here, fair criticism is welcome, but hyperventilating based on selective listening coupled with a maniacal hope is simply just ranting for the resistance. Both sides do it. They pick on something. They want it to be true, so they ignore anything that makes it untrue, and they insist that it's true, and it gets millions of retweets. It gets published. And the problem I have is less so with Twitter. People will do what they're going to do, and they're going to get their followers just by, and I see it in the gold and silver community, people saying game over, game changer, this is going to happen, and it's not. But it's when you have what's supposedly the trusted media, people who actually get paid to write, they purposely put this stuff out there, and then they apologize for the mistakes later. And it's not a mistake. It's definitely done intentionally. In my opinion, it's done intentionally, and then they figure, well, it got out there, what we wanted to be out there, the negative impression or positive impression that it created has been done, and then we'll just, well, never mind, a little later on, and no one will see the correction. We'll have an example of that in a second. Now, James Comey, we haven't heard from him basically since late May, and there was a report that the FBI had planted a spy in the Trump campaign. Now, initially, they denied all that. There was no spy. Are you kidding me? It's outrageous. The FBI doesn't do those kind of things. And now they're normalizing it. And James Comey is saying, facts matter. The FBI's use of a confidential human source, the actual term. So now he's saying, yeah, there was a spy, but, you know, it really wasn't a spy. It was a confidential human source. It's tightly regulated, and it's essential to protecting the country. So now confidential human sources are essential to plant into presidential campaigns. And if you attack the FBI and lie about its work, you'll do lasting damage to our country. But here's the sanctimonious nonsense. He says, how will our grandchildren, how will Republicans explain this to their grandchildren? As if only Republicans are concerned about the FBI's use of spies or confidential human sources on American citizens. Now, it gets worse because Ryan, our friend, I call him Nolan Ryan, but he's not Nolan Ryan. His name is Paul Ryan. He is the Republican, I don't know what he's the head of the Congress. He is I can't even remember what the heck you call the guy who runs. He doesn't run the Congress. He's the Speaker of the House. No, he's not the Speaker. Anyway, Ryan and Trey Gowdy, both prominent Republicans, and they're leaving this year. And Gowdy will be obviously angling for one of these expensive, highly paid political pundit commentators on MSNBC, CNN, whatever network he chooses to go to. So he's been making statements like, well, Trump should just go and talk to the Mueller if he's got nothing to hide. That just betrays any legal experience he may have. It's ridiculous for even to suggest that. But now he's saying that it was a good thing that the FBI had spies in the Trump campaign. That's what they should have done. We should praise the FBI for this. And Ryan, Ryan the other day also said, and let's get back to what Nolan Ryan said. He was basically saying that he saw no evidence of there being a spy in the Trump campaign. Well, first of all, Comey just said there was a spy, although he called it a confidential human source. Now, Speaker of the House, there he is, House Speaker Paul Ryan says there's no evidence that the FBI planted a spy in President Trump's campaign. Well, Comey just said they had a confidential human source, and Clapper said Trump should be happy that the FBI was spying on his campaign. So which is it, Mr. Ryan? This is very moronic, because basically they're all bending over backwards trying to either deny the existence of something, admit the existence of something, but with, it's a good thing, or deny the existence of something by calling it something else, a confidential human source. And it just seems that Paul Ryan and Trey Gowdy are definitely looking to their post-congressional careers and is part of the industrial media complex where they want to be in favor with what they think will be those in power at the FBI so they can get leaks and they can break stories. Who knows what's on their mind? Still seems to be very moronic, because anybody who's paying attention can see that this is a logically inconsistent argument to be making, that there was no spy. Well, there was a spy, but it was a confidential human source, and if there was a spy, they should be happy. You see, if we should be happy that the FBI was doing this, I would say, well, why didn't they tell the Trump campaign about it? Like, you got to watch this guy. Or why didn't they have these confidential human sources in the other campaigns? Because clearly the Russians would have tried to obstruct our democracy by interfering with all the campaigns. Now, Senator Flake. I noticed this back in late May. Flake was on TV. He was talking about someone's got to stop Trump, and maybe he's the guy to do it. And I was thinking at the time, well, you're not the guy to do it. You're a Republican. You don't have much support amongst Republicans. You don't even have support in your state, and you're clearly not going to get the support of Democrats. And Donald Trump, back in just over a week later, says, how could Jeff Flake, who was setting record low polling numbers in Arizona and was therefore humiliatingly forced out of his own Senate seat without even a fight, and who doesn't have a clue, thinking about running for office, even a lower one again, let's face it, he's a flake. It's quite moronic to actually have that impression of yourself and think that you're going to be the resistance when you're a Republican. There's plenty of Democrats who can put up a much better fight against Trump than Senator Flake. Now, poor Elon Musk, he's been in Moronica for weeks now, ever since he started complaining about the media treatment of his company, about the investor analyst treatment of his company, about his failed joke on April Fool's that Tesla was going to go bankrupt. Company has had financial issues, always had financial issues, just that people are finally paying attention to the fact the company doesn't make much money. Now it's competition from Porsche for electrical cars. And there's been a number of crashes of this Tesla automatic pilot. Now, the problem with it is it's pretty moronic to call it automatic pilot. The car, it's not a self-driving car. From what I've heard, the autopilot assists you in driving. You can't take your hands off the wheel, put a blindfold on, and start smoking cigarettes and drinking cocktails and hope the car is going to get you to your destination. So it's pretty moronic here. It's actually ironic that this poor guy ended up smashing into a police car. But Elon Musk, I think the shine is off of his boy genius persona, and he's now become pretty bratish, I'd say, the way he's been complaining all the time about what's happening. And he actually said he wants to start a media company that's going to rate the media. I don't know. It doesn't sounds moronic to me. Now, back to the media when they make their mistakes. So, for example, here's one. Donald Trump says Democrats mistakenly tweet 2014 pictures from Obama's term showing children from the border in steel cages. Now, the reason they do that, they want to say, look how horrible it is. Trump hates immigrants. Trump treats immigrants this way. This is just the most disgusting thing. Look what a bad person Donald Trump is. And, of course, that impression sticks with people. Well, here is the reporter saying, oops, deleted the previous tweet because they gave the impression that they were recent photos, but really they're from 2014. Nothing about how horrible it was, those pictures from 2014. No, because they happened under Obama. Just basically, oh, sorry, mea culpa. We shouldn't have published them. They're old pictures. Well, the issue was still there in 2014. They just chose not to cover it. It was also the case in with MS-13, where the Donald Trump had said that these people were animals, and of course the press jumped on it, and they said basically that he called all immigrants animals, and that was like the worst thing. And what the press likes to say is, oh, we can't always get it right. Yes, you can. Certain things you can't get right. You're speculating, you have half the facts. But when you hear the president say something, and you hear the question that was asked, that's not a mistake, or it's just complete incompetence that you report it that way. The same thing with the photos. You know when the photos were, you should know when the photos were taken. And there was another example recently where Trump went to a rally in Nashville, Tennessee. I don't know, 5,500, 6,000 people showed up. And the reports were no one showed up. It was low energy, about 1,000 people. Now, again, you should be able to tell the difference between 1,000 and 5,000 people. Even a junior reporter, someone who's been to their first crowd or two, should be able to tell that. But when they act like, oh, yeah, sorry, what a mistake. No, they wanted to get out the impression that no one showed up. So here's Julie Davis. Yes, President Trump was correct about his crowd last night. My estimate was way off. And we have corrected our story to reflect the fire marshal's estimate of 5,500 people. And then they get sanctimony. We get it wrong. We say so. Well, don't get it wrong in the first place. It's moronic to even think that if there's 5,500 people there and you are a senior reporter or even a junior reporter, you work for the Washington Post, you should think anytime on your checklist when you have a event and you want to report on the numbers, you should have a methodology other than, I'm looking around, I don't see anyone here at 1,000 people. You ask the fire marshal. You don't publish 1,000 and then say, oh, it was a mistake. Now, our friend, Bill Clinton. Here's what he says. I couldn't be elected now because I don't like embarrassing people the way Trump does. Okay, so that's pretty moronic. Now, the other thing he did this week was he gave an interview and he tried to act in a very moronic way as if his escapade with Monica Lewinsky, I wasn't saying it wasn't his fault, but he was trying to say he was the victim. He said, I left the White House $16 million in debt because of Monica Lewinsky. And they asked him if he apologized. And he was making it sound like he didn't need to apologize because he lost a lot of money. Of course, we know that the Clintons made up that money pretty quickly through the Clinton Foundation. So now, what else have we got? Starbucks. Now, Schultz is going to leave Starbucks after the two African-American debacle where they were asked to leave. They were arrested in handcuffs for not buying something and asking to use the men's room and not leaving when they were asked to leave. Well, now he's going to leave. And he can't just leave his job as Starbucks. He's saying he may consider running for president. And he also says that he agrees with Warren Buffett that, quote, businesses shouldn't be in the business of politics. Well, Warren Buffett's been in the business of politics for decades now. He got bailed out in 2008 through his relationships with the government. He actually wrote a thank you letter to the government for doing the bailouts in 2010, 2 years after the bailout. But he says, but the role of companies and CEOs changed because the government has been so dysfunctional. Now, that's complete nonsense. The government's been dysfunctional for decades as well. These two guys think that they're special and that because they think the government is dysfunctional, meaning they don't like the direction of the government, well, then we're going to break this rule that businesses shouldn't be in politics, but we need to be in politics because we're special and we don't like the way things are going. So we're going to get involved. Now, what is your overall opinion of Starbucks? And this was a Smaulgld poll. 179 people took it. And it looks like, to date, it's still open for another couple of days, that about 85% had, or no, 83% had an unfavorable, very unfavorable opinion of Starbucks. Now, the reason for that, I believe, is, first of all, the coffee is expensive. I think the people that don't like Starbucks, that's one of the things that they will tell you. Some people don't like the taste of it. And another reason is the politics. Now, I think that cuts both ways. I think some people like the politics of Starbucks. They like to be involved in causes. They like when they write on the cups, race together. They like to be part of something. And coffee is a place you go, you sit down, and maybe you have those types of discussions. But clearly, there is a large segment of the population that, and I guess Starbucks doesn't need everybody to buy their coffee to be successful. I think that's the thing people miss in business. They assume that they have to appeal to everybody. You don't. You have to appeal to your loyal customers. They're the 80-20 rule. They're the ones that are going to go in every day and buy the coffee, and they want you to keep on keeping on doing what you're doing. The fact that these people don't like Starbucks, I don't think Starbucks cares. I don't think that's moronic. I think that's just the way it is. Well, that about does it. Here's one last moronic here. So, Rudy Giuliani, who is just, I think he's been quite moronic in his handling of his representation of Trump. But Donald Trump had arranged, or supposedly had arranged, a meeting with Kim Jong-un of South Korea. Then he called it off. Then it's back on. But this didn't add anything, and this is moronic. Giuliani says Kim Jong-un begged for the summit on his hands and knees. Now, you got the guy coming back to the table. It's obvious that's what he did. You don't need to hear from the president's lawyer that that's what he did. So that is moronic, Mr. Giuliani. Well, thank you very much for joining me today. Please consider, if you enjoyed this report, donating to Smaulgld via PayPal, via becoming a Smaulgld patron, or via Litecoin and Bitcoin. Also consider buying your precious metals through Smaulgld at the links below at Money Metals Exchange, Golden Eagle Coin, and SD Bullion. Smaulgld does get a small commission if you do buy through those links. And also, it's not investment advice, but if you are going to buy, you can compare pricing and shipping there. Also, tomorrow we will have, in case you missed it, top gold and silver stories for the week ended June 10th. And we're also doing live streams every evening around 8 p.m. on YouTube, so please check that out. Thank you very much for listening.